Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to this impromptu rock around the clock with me and my wonderful guest, the ever popular Mr. Chase from Stadia Talk. How are you, Chase?
Good, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, good. Chase and I were literally talking, having a friends chat when the yeah, when Google decided to announce some breaking news. So I said, let's get on it, and here we are. We're live. Thank you very much if you responded to the tweets and you're visiting us. We have just read essentially the latest community blog post, which was tweeted out a short while ago from Stadia. And apart from the initial stuff, which we all know about, of course, a reminder of 5 new free games and so on, and also interestingly, a reconfirmation that that if you take a new Stadia Pro trial, it's for 1 month. And I had it confirmed to me yesterday that that was indeed an error. And the 2 months, anyone that claimed it, well done, because that's been pulled now, and it's reverted back to if you've cancelled and you go back in and you press the Stadia Pro button, it asks you for payment, and that's the only way to get back in, unless you've never set up a Stadia Pro account, in which case it'll offer you a 1 month free trial. So yeah, sad for those that missed out on that one. I'm sorry, but there you go. Then we've got some news about more OnePlus devices, which is interesting if you've got a OnePlus, and they're very popular. And then, Chase, we're into stuff that some of this we knew about because of breakdowns in APIs, but some of it's completely new. Do you want to just run through what we've got here?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is, we do have another bit of news, so we need to talk about this as well.
Okay. You just heard something else, have you?
Yes, it is confirmed. So Windbound is going to make its way to Stadia. It looks like August 28th, 2020. This is a good sign, y'all. We actually see the Stadia graphic on the announcement here. I'm actually looking at it on the background, so apologies. I know I'm seeing visually what you're not seeing right now, but it looks like that is confirmed, so that is a good shout.
I will bring that up.
Yeah, let me this is actually from Twitter. Let me pull this up here, this graphic. Okay, I'm going to share it over to you, Rokk, and then we can keep going. I'm sorry. I just happened to see it in real time, so I wanted to make sure I was being accurate. This should be it. I don't know if you can see it from your side.
Well, I've got what you're seeing, I think. Here we go.
Yep.
So, right. So this is Windbound that is coming in August, as you've rightly said. Now, I don't know anything at all about this game, Chase. Do you know anything at all about it?
A little bit. It's got kind of I don't want to compare it to a Breath of the Wild look, but that art style is very similar. Game mechanics wise, this is not one I've been following, so I'm going to have to read up on it. I don't want to be disingenuous or tell people that I know something that I don't. I have seen trailers on it, though, in the past. Or at least, I don't know if I want to say trailers. I've seen some images.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. So it does very much have if you look at it, it looks very much like a Breath of the Wild.
Yes, it does.
And this is one that I think a lot of people had been talking about. They were interested in this game. They thought maybe this is a game that could be another. Oh, let it play.
Can you hear? Is that too loud?
No, it's perfect.
Stadia is like a number 10 bus, mate, isn't it? You wait all week for 3 and then 7 come along.
Yeah, but as you can see, it's very much got a Breath of the Wild type of look to it.
No Man's Sky as well. It has that kind of very simple but very attractive cartoon-like graphic, which is at the moment very popular in the gaming industry, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think this is that open world type of RPG type of game. So again, this is actually a really big get for Stadia because it is a highly anticipated title. It's one that's been talked about, and I think is this one. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Hold on. This might actually be a bigger deal than I thought on something else. If you want to fill the gap there, Rokk, let me do some research here.
Yeah, no, sure thing. I'm just gonna turn this down a little bit. So yeah, as we've said, we don't know a great deal, or at least I don't know a great deal about this. What does it say here? Uncover secrets within, embark on a personal journey and discover the history of the idyllic Forbidden Islands, each holding the key to a mystery. So it sounds like it's a big open world. Third-person explorer, live on the land. So it's a survival game. Scavenge the island's untamed terrain for resources that you can use to craft a full range of tools and weapons. Explore as far as the eye can see. So it genuinely is a large open world. Head towards the horizon, advancing across the islands, each with their own wildlife, landscapes, and challenges. So in some ways, it is a sort of a take on No Man's Sky. Build your perfect seacraft. So it's absolutely up my street. This is the kind of game I love. Now, the key thing is that in that tweet, it very much said it was coming to Stadia. I did spot on their website, however, that there's no mention of it. Now, that doesn't mean a huge amount. We've seen disparities before with websites where we know a game's definitely coming to Stadia, but for whatever reason whatsoever, it doesn't show up.
Right. Well, I mean, it's good to see it's in the graphic, though, at least on that official.
It's certainly on the tweet that you showed. I mean, there's no getting away from that. So, I mean, that's 100% saying Stadia. The tweet, do we know the Swindles? Do we know who that individual is?
I don't, but I think where they're getting this from is they're getting it from. There's actually a conference that's going on right now. It's the oh, y'all, folks that are in the chat, help me out because I'm running on fumes right now. The gasoline's not kicked in. But there's actually a conference that's going on right now that has Destroy All Humans.
Okay.
And I think that might be where this news is coming out of right now. Is it's out of that one. So expect. I would imagine now that just got put out there, you're probably going to see the Stadia team put something out in short order on this. Is it IGN Gameplays? There's something else. There's another. Y'all, this is what happens when, again, you don't have full amount of coffee in your system. And hold on, let me see what the IGN piece is, because there should be something here that can help me out with this.
So is this part of the Summer Festival of Gaming? Is this because that doesn't start for us, I think, for another couple of hours. So maybe
no. I know that they were promoting this though. Why am I not finding this? Duncan.
He's on Stadia Source doing their thing at the moment, I believe. Now, what's interesting as well from this particular graphic, Chase, is that it also says pre-order.
Escapist. So it's the Escapist Indie Showcases from 12 to 2 today. That's probably where this is coming out of, is out of this event, because they were supposed to be highlighting Destroy All Humans and a couple other indie titles. This is one of the bigger ones that was in the conversation that people were wanting to get more info on. They wanted to know more, kind of background on. Yeah. And clearly Stadia has done the work. They have pulled in the resources to get this on the platform. So again, this is for yesterday not having any announcements. We didn't see any announcements on some of the smaller indie games. To get this larger indie title, this is a big deal. This is actually a really big deal.
This looks amazing. Actually looks a really good game, I have to say. Yeah. What I'm interested in is the fact that this is a pre-order banner, and it mentions Stadia. Now, we know this week Destiny 2, the Binding Light that's coming up in September, that is now on sale pre-order, first ever pre-order that we've seen on Stadia. I wonder whether that's the Vanguard, and we'll see this one and others on pre-order soon as well.
I think pre-ordering is going to be something that they are going to do anyways. I mean, they kind of alluded to that in the APKs, because they know people want a budget. They know people want to how do I say it the right way? They know people want to pay for things up front and then go, hey, I don't have to worry about it now 3 months down the line.
Yeah.
Where some of us, I know you're actually completely the opposite of that. It's like, I'm not giving you money up front. You'll get my money when the game comes out. Yeah. You'll get the money when it comes,
my grandmother.
out. So they need to cater to everybody. We've talked about this. They got to cater to all purchasing demographics. And as long as they do that, then I think they're fine. But
I think it also shows commitment, and it's useful from the developer's point of view, of course, because they can get a bit of a gauge for the interest they're likely to get on a specific platform. So it's quite useful for them in terms of where they budget their marketing between now and launch. But yeah, that's a fascinating, and that's breaking news, guys. So this is literally as we've been on air that this has come to light, and it really does look a great game. If we just park that one for now and pop back to the Google community,
the Google News at hand,
yeah, which is why we went live. And this is essentially just come out 20 minutes ago. For those of you that are a little bit late in coming in, we've got some. I'm trying to spin up the wrong page. We've got some standard stuff which we knew about. They've covered the 5 games that we've all had since the 1st of June, and they've reaffirmed that the Pro trial is for 1 month. So that little nugget that we had earlier in the week that I put a video up on that said you could claim 2 months if you were quick, that's gone. That's been killed off now. And then they've confirmed that there's some more OnePlus devices that are now able to run it. And there's a difference here, isn't there, Chase, between devices that they have optimized and approved for running Stadia Pro, or Stadia, I should say. So they know that it will work flawlessly. And then this next statement, which I'd like you to just cover off.
Yeah, I think something changed behind the scenes on this one, and I'm actually encouraged by this move. And this is my hot take. We actually, me and Rokk did not talk about this off the air. This would be the first time he's hearing me say this. We knew that this was something they were moving towards in the APKs. I thought they were going to potentially do a very, very slow rollout. So it'd be a couple more devices, and they would just do it. And as you logged in, you'd see, okay, now my device is supported. I can use it. They have decided that, you know what, at this point, based off of the public perception, we can't take the risk anymore that there aren't enough devices for people to play on this thing. We just need to roll it out. If it works, we've given the disclaimer that, hey, these aren't optimized devices. It's at your risk, which is exactly what I think they needed to do. And I am all in on this. I think this is a great move by them. And this is, we just had this conversation last night about getting a hold of the reins and telling people, like, we have to jump in here and act as a gaming company. This to me speaks volumes of, these are people, whoever made the collective decision on this went and looked at the landscape and said, we are losing the battle right now, y'all. We are losing the battle in the public perception place. And I'll tell you, in the other forums, one of the major talking points, I literally just was in a forum right now from PSVG. One of the talking points that you see is, well, when is it coming to other devices? When is it coming to other devices? When is it? I don't want to play on a Chromecast. I want to play on my phone. That has now just been answered, y'all. They now have the ability to say, well, if you've got an Android device and it's a high enough version of Android, load it up. Yes, it may not run as optimized as these supported devices. There's a difference, but you can still play. And I think that's going to turn a major corner for a lot of people in that regard. But again, this messaging's got to get out now. This can't just be a community update. They need to get this out to the IGNs, to the GameSpots. They got to get it out to all the major media sources so that people know that this is now live. They can actually go do this as we speak. So that's my take, Rokk. I think cooler heads prevailed on this one and said, you know what? You might have wanted to just do this kind of slow, log in one day and see if your device now has the ability. And now they've said, you know what? We can't take that risk anymore. We just can't. We have to just load this thing out there. And as what they're going to do here, y'all, is as time progresses, they'll just optimize in real time. So as you're playing on, let's say it's an LG phone. Well, one day you're going to log in and they're going to say, well, now this LG phone is truly optimized and supported, even though you could play on it before. That's what's going to happen.
Yes. And you know what, if you just read this piece in blue here, Chase, this is good. So they're essentially saying the way that you enable this feature on your phone is you go to an experimental tab within the Stadia app, which will allow you to test it on your phone. But they also say that this is where you will also be able to play and explore new future features. So suddenly they're starting to open up, allowing us to play with stuff ahead of release dates and times, which is we've been crying out for. So this is good. This maybe, and I'm asking too much here, but maybe we're just around the corner from that first iOS running Stadia as well, because they're starting to release the features now.
Yeah, I think that there's some things I don't want to taint what we're talking about right now in this moment. There's some things I think that still needed to be added to this press release, and I'll talk about it in a second, because I did a quick read to kind of see if there were the hot button issues in here as well. But I think overall, this is exactly what they needed to do. This is starting to speak to transparency, and we've been screaming for it. Listen, they're not out of the woods. This is just today.
Yeah.
They have to going forward maintain this track. It can't be sporadic. It can't be, well, 1 week we're transparent and then for 4 weeks we're quiet. This has to be the norm going forward, and they have to listen. They have to listen, because they are literally right now in the moment of losing that battle for the mind shares, said. So they have to start doing these things. They don't have a choice anymore. I think before it was more of a, yeah, they can do it. It's a choice. But when you have the Cyberpunk news, which again, we can agree to disagree about how big the day and date thing is, but nonetheless, it's still a perception issue. And that's what this comes down to. So
what I remind me, Chase, have we always been able to play on mobile devices via Bluetooth? It was only it was just Chrome itself that they recently opened that up to. Before that, we could still use okay. I just spotted that here, and
you could, and if your Chromebook or your laptop had Bluetooth, you could also use the controller via Bluetooth that way on the laptop. So you had that option, but as far as for Wi-Fi or wireless play, and that's the key, because when people think of wireless, they think Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. But for Wi-Fi, for wireless connectivity to Wi-Fi, that's what was restricted on the Chromebook or the laptop.
Okay. So that's that. And in answer to your question, the Guinness, yes, this is literally now on any Android phone that has Android 10 or higher installed. So in essence, you download the app, the Stadia app, you create an account. If you don't have one, that doesn't necessarily have to be paid for, but you do get the 1 month's free trial for doing that anyway. And then you can go to the experiment tab if your phone isn't on their list of pre-optimized devices and start playing Stadia. Now, obviously, caveat, there may be issues with some phones, but I would argue that if it's a relatively new smartphone, you're probably okay, as long as it's running Android 10 or higher. So that's great news. And all of a sudden, it's now available across pretty much all mobile devices, with the exception, of course, of Apple. But we know they're working on that, so hopefully that's going to be not too far down the road. And then this, which we also knew a little bit about, but they've officially announced mobile touch controls.
Yeah, I think for certain games, this is again another big deal. We knew about this from the APK, so we already knew this was on its way in. And so, like for a game like Football Manager, if you're just wanting to go in and do basic things on the phone, which that game would be like that. Monopoly is another one. If you want to just go into Destiny, log into the tower, get your loot for the day, you're not actually doing PvP, Crucible, or anything. Again, these things make sense, and this is how you sell this. I think, again, I come back to this. I know Duncan completely disagreed with me last night, but I'm really going to, I think, stick my flag in the ground again and just say this one more time. They have to sell this service via what? The convenience and the cost, because that is what this service is. At some point when we get to a place where the technology is just standardized, where everything is equal to what you can potentially see on local hardware, then you can start making the arguments about the P's, the Q's, the K's, all that stuff. We're not in a place at that time yet. There's no reason to get into that argument. So what do you need to do in the moment to get people to buy in? You give them a reason to buy in. You tell them it's so convenient, like the Switch, that there's no reason you shouldn't try to give this a look. I'll tell you right now, I just went into another forum again, Rokk, and Windbound this game, when I just explained that it was coming to Stadia and the portability and the fact that now Android phones are supported, you should have seen what some of the responses were. Positive, highly positive. People are saying, wow, this is a reason that maybe I will consider buying it on Stadia because I could play it anywhere. So this is the thing. Again, convenience and cost. If you can give people the reason, they will do it. And to Duncan's point, where I think he was right last night, you do need to have the games to incentivize that cost and convenience. So now there's a game there that I think does that.
No, it's amazing. And it really does look good. I'm quite excited actually by that one. I'm going to look at it in a bit more detail later. So mobile touch control. Oh, sorry. Andy Morphs was just asking for reconfirmation. Did we say all Android devices? That's
anything 10.
Yeah. Now I've just put into chat that you may look in your Stadia app right now and not see the experiment feature. That's possibly because there will be a later update to the app. So it's not untypical for Stadia to announce something and then for it to be rolled out in the coming days. So I wouldn't expect it necessarily to be today, but certainly keep an eye out for app updates, and I'm certain it'll be in the next app update. So touch controls, which, as you've rightly said, Chase, won't be applicable to some games. Some games it would just be a pain, but for others, and they're showing Guilt here, which is a relatively slow game. It's a game that you explore with your character. There's no kind of fast FPS stuff going on in there. Perfect for that. Little Nightmares would be another one that would be perfect for that. Maybe Spittlings, those kinds of games. Even a driving game, Crew 2 or Grid would be great for this, but possibly something like PUBG or Destiny would maybe not suit it so much. But great to have the feature. And of course, we've had a kind of hack version of this via JavaScript in the past, which was taken down. So that's exciting, and that's good. And then we have a completely new announcement, which I don't think any of us knew was coming, which is that now you can choose the resolution that you want to play on your television via your Chromecast Ultra. I certainly wasn't aware of this coming. Were you, Chase?
No, but I bet you, again, this comes back directly from what? Feedback that the community has been giving. One of the things that we've heard from several streamers, Project Storm is one of them. I know he's not in the house, but he'll tell you his frustration was always on the Chromecast Ultra. He couldn't choose his resolution setting. He had to go into the app, choose what data usage he wanted to use to get that to happen. So now what this will allow you to do is, even though your data usage is set to, let's say it's limited, in the app, if you change your mind in real time and you don't have your phone directly on you, you just go and change the resolution, and it's going to move that option automatically for you from the Chromecast.
Yes. And of course, some games work better at 1080p. I would say Borderlands 3, for example, Destiny 2, typically, when it moves to 60 frames per second, when you downgrade to 1080p. So you now have the option, if a game has a 60 frames per second option that only works under 1080p, to downgrade it on a game-by-game basis, whereas before you had to kind of do it as one movement in your app, and it affected every game you played. Right. So this suddenly gives you that option. Which for me is really useful, because I know there are certain games where the look of it is kind of marginal, breakpoints a bit like this. Do I really get a large advantage from 4K? Doesn't look hugely better. Flick it down to 1080p, and then the 60 frames makes a big difference to the game. So we can now do this within the Chromecast Ultra, potentially through Chrome. I haven't checked yet through the browser option. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't also an option there. Or if it isn't, it will be coming soon. Of course, they've only just upgraded to 4K on Chromecast. So Chrome.
Yeah, it looks like for CCU is where they're doing this initially. And again, the reason they may be doing this, y'all, in this manner is, where is the best place to play, and where has been the best place to play since launch? The Chromecast. So they want to get their data from there first before they start throwing it over into the Chrome browser. And there are ways to still work around that. We have the Stadia Plus app. There's ways you can still achieve this. It's a little bit more involved, but this is the right step. And I think one of the big things that I really think is awesome here, Rokk, that I really want to highlight is in that image there, they have HDR marked for Pro. Yes. And why this is a big deal is, again, HDR is not just restricted to 4K. It's for the 1080 and 720p options. And I talked about this in the beginning, that is what's making, for 720 at least, making it look as good if not just on par with the 1080 option, and you're not using as much data. So these are things that I think they're starting to catch on that, you know what, we need to start selling people on these little value propositions that when they go in and they look and they go, wow, when that's enabled, it actually looks better. That makes sense for me to spend that $10 for that HDR versus maybe the $10 for somebody else's because of the 4K. See, that's how I've looked at this, Rokk, is I have to kind of do a give and take. Even though I'm not getting 4K, is that HDR worth it to me for the $10? It sure is.
Yeah. I know that's been a huge thing for you, and you've said in the past how actually 4K, even 60 frames per second for you isn't as important as the HDR. And of course, again, it depends on your personal preferences and the devices that you've got. Antonio points out, and I think he's correct, that this isn't limited to CCU. It's simply that they're stating this is how you change it within the CCU. So it's now something that would be available across. Here we go.
Let's see. I'm gonna do a test real quick. Let me see. I'm gonna open up Stadia in the background.
Having the ability to set your Stadia resolutions individually for each device you play on. So it actually does say that here. Previously, resolution settings were controlled through the Stadia app, but applied to all of your devices. We're rolling this change out today, and it should be live for everyone in the next few days, which again confirms this time frame that they tend to roll this stuff out.
Yeah, I don't see it in the Chrome browser, by the way, y'all.
No, I suspect that is going to be the CCU is probably a firmware push that's maybe already happened behind the scenes. We didn't even know it was happening. So that's probably now as of today. And then they'll roll it through the app and the browser over the next couple of days would be my guess. Probably regionally based as well. We tend to see that it kind of puddles out, splashes out from the States, although it hasn't got to go very far with only 14 countries right now. That's got to be surely that's got to be one of the big announcements at some point soon. I can't believe that it's still restricted to 14 territories when we're seeing xCloud and GeForce Now essentially all over the place, aren't we?
I don't, I've actually been on the other side of the coin on that one, Rokk. I don't think that they will launch into the rest of these territories until the basic features are in place. So I think the last puzzle piece that they're going to want to be in place before they start expanding this thing all the way out. And I know this may be a shock to some people when I say this, but I'm just being honest with you all. I think they have to get iOS support before that happens, because you need to have all devices available, even if the features aren't ready. So let's say that Crowd Choice or Crowd Play or the other isn't ready. At least the devices are available to where more people can play on it at the start. So I think that's probably going to be when you see that next move. That'll be when that next move actually happens, is when that final puzzle piece is in place. They're then going to say, you know what, we've got all the devices in place. We're ready to go. Now let's start expanding. Yeah.
Andy makes a very good point, actually, based on what I've just said about them probably pushing a firmware over the last few days, because a lot of people have been reporting slowing down issues with their CCUs. So that would make I don't know how big that would be, the firmware. It's probably not huge, in fairness. I mean, it's a fairly small device. It probably hasn't got a huge memory footprint, but nonetheless, if they're pushing that across the network generally, then that probably makes sense. It's a good shout, Andy. Right. And that, as they always end up saying, is that. What we don't have is any other confirmation of games, but for those that only just come on stream, Chase announced earlier that we've got a game which I shall quickly share the screen with. Sorry, Chase, you were about to say something.
No, I have one more thing, but I'm going to wait till you go through this because I wanted to leave it till last.
No worries. Sorry. So just very quickly, those that have just arrived, something we broke at the top of the show. This has now been confirmed as coming to Stadia. We assume day and date. It's early news for us, so we haven't done that piece of work yet. But I think we can assume it's coming day and date, which is August the 28th, so not long to wait. It looks an absolutely stunning game. As Chase said, it's kind of in Breath of the Wild in terms of its look. But it's very much a large open world exploration stroke survival type game. One that I think will really hit a lot of buttons. So look out for that one in the coming days. No reason to assume it won't come day and date. There's not a huge amount on their website. Chase showed a banner that they tweeted that confirmed absolutely that it's coming to Stadia. and it was no mention of it being staggered. So that's exciting. That's breaking news today. Sorry, Chase, you were going to say.
No, I was just going to add at the end, because all the things that we were talking about before were all of the positive pieces. I think there's just two things that really are missing from this press release, and it's disappointing to see that it's not there. And again, I'm trying to give feedback, and just this is that tough love type of thing. We needed to hear from them, the reason for their blackout, because up to this point they had said nothing. And to be fair, last week we know why. Most industries were being quiet because they wanted the more important voices to be heard, which is the right thing to do. But you need to come out and have that conversation with the community and let them know where that stance is. So that's number one. Number two, there's still no clarification about what has happened with the miscommunication. Not that there was ever incorrect information or anything, but the miscommunication around Cyberpunk. And I think these are the things that, again, we're talking about transparency. They are starting a good trend in this release, but where's the rest of it? So we got to see the other side of the coin in here too. And I think that is, for their maturity, that is the next evolution for them that we still don't see in this press release. And it is, I have to be honest, it is a little disappointing.
Yeah, no, understandable. Of course, we're now in the IGN Summer of Gaming Festival, and we know that Stadia has a slot. We don't know when, and we don't know what they're going to talk about, but we can safely assume it won't be this news. It'll be something that we're yet to uncover. So let's keep fingers crossed that it's going to be something that answers some of your...
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could well.
Yeah. Did we miss the fact that they're giving everybody $10 towards a next game purchase? By the way, that is in this. It is in the very top line. Someone just mentioned it in the chat, and that's a good shout.
You miss money? What the heck?
So if you're a current or new Stadia subscriber, if you've ever been a Stadia Pro member, you'll get $10 off your next game purchase. So that is their way to try to, I guess it's their way to try to say, we're sorry. I'm not entirely sure. But again, that's fine that they're giving it a monetization or a monetary incentive, but you still need to address these things. And that's probably where that's coming from. They're trying to say, look, we know we've been quiet. Yeah. Even though they're not saying it here, right? We know we've been quiet. Our bad. Here's $10 towards a future game purchase, to show where we stand on things.
Maybe. I can see where you're coming from.
But it could be something else too. It could be something else too.
I see it slightly differently, Chase, if I may. I think what it actually is what do you do when your free trial finishes and you haven't purchased any games? So you've had the benefit of 20 odd games for free and you've played them and they've been okay and you've enjoyed that experience, but you haven't bought any games. Your subscription ends and you've got an empty library. This is a way to get at least one game into your library, which keeps you coming back. Because that for me has always been the problem they've got. What happens at that cutoff point? You go from a library, a Netflix-like library of games that you can dip in and play, to nothing. And because there's no incentive to keep you anymore, it's a free account after all, you can play for nothing. This is their way of saying, look, you know what? I mean, I personally would have gone another stage further. I would have said a game of your choice up to a value of, so that you've got some free gift in your account that gets you coming back. $10 is okay, and it actually even buys you some of the cheaper games. But it's you still need to pony up the other $20, $30, or $40 to get a game, which you may or may not do, particularly if you're committed to a console. So I personally would have said, now that you've completed that 2 months trial, 1 month trial, hope you enjoyed yourself. Here's a list of games that you can choose. Any one of these games, it'll be added for free to your library on us. And, I would, by the way, look at the games that involve some kind of co-op or multiplayer, so that you can get, you need to build the list of friends to make, like we used to play in Destiny, because we had lots of friends there. So you kind of need to get them involved in playing with friends. That's always been a big draw for the consoles. That's how I would have done it. And I would have said, there you go, here's a choice of games. We ain't giving you Red Dead and we ain't giving you Borderlands and so on, but you can have NBA 2K and you can have, Guild and so on and so forth. Any that you'd like, have it. It's on us. Or even choose any of the games that you've enjoyed within the Pro subscription, and you can have that one game on us. But they didn't do that. They gave us a tenner. And he was, thank you. Grandmother says, good news. Free money. Always up for free money.
I mean, I think actually your reasoning is more plausible. It makes more sense than my banter that I just had. I'm just talking out into an open line of thought that, I don't know if that's why they had done what I said originally, if that's why they had done what they had done here. Because if so, you still need to address it. But nonetheless, lots of positives here. Please don't get it twisted. I know my last part there was more on the not so great side, but again, we got to talk about both, folks. Even when somebody does something good, that doesn't mean there's not room for improvement. And like Rokk said, I think we may see some answers to those questions I posed. And if that's the case, then they've been answered. We'll get those answers. So we'll see.
And we talked at length last night. Chase, and guys, if you haven't watched it, go and check out the Stadia Talk Impromptu last night on hive mentality. Lots of frustration. We're all frustrated, not just us as content creators, but users as well. We have invested in something that is very new. Where there's not been a great level of communication between Stadia and the community. That leaves a big hole that typically gets filled with negativity and rumors and hate. And that's frustrating, and we all get that. But I think, hang in there, guys, because there will be positivity coming. They need to make some changes up at Stadia HQ. One of them undoubtedly is their policy towards communication and what appears to be a fairly liberal marketing team. But that's all going to come. I'm absolutely sure of it. And from our frustration, which is born from positivity, all of us desperately want Stadia to succeed. None of us have ill thoughts about this thing that we've invested in. I think it's coming. And every time we get I know these are little nuggets. I know these are, tiny raindrops, but they all build up. And I think, as you said earlier, we've got a Stadia slot in IGN Summer of Gaming, and we've got a big Connect coming. We just don't know quite yet when. So watch this space, as they say. Chase, thank you ever so much for joining me during your lunch hour. That's very kind of you. It's great to have you. I think for the first time on Rokk Around the Clock. Hopefully one of many to come.
It was a great time as always. I always appreciate your views and your takes, and you have a brilliant mind, my friend. So thank you so much for having me over and letting me talk some craziness during the lunch hour, if you will.
No, it's always a massive pleasure. I was told to check my Twitter, and I've no idea, by somebody privately. So I'm having a very quick look.
More breaking news. We can't take any more.
I know. No, I'm not seeing anything. No, hold on. If it is, I will tweet it out later, guys.
No, Tommy said your Twitter DM.
Yeah, that's the one I've looked at. And
check your Twitter, Rokk. Tommy, what did you?
I'm seeing sort of CC stuff as we normally see it. Tommy and I haven't spoken since the 8th on DMs, so not sure.
Oh, he said check on Twitter, not the DM. So see if you were tagged in something.
I see. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Tommy. It's more breaking news. Celeb promoters spreading the word. He's for some reason we've got Mr. Tumble, which is a peculiar English children's program, Chase, and then connecting it with you and I on the laptop. Thanks, Tommy. Really appreciate your humor. You're an absolute guy. Get out of here. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Have a cracking day. Oh, just to quickly let you know, in 10 minutes' time, I'm hopefully streaming. Very quickly, a very dear, a much-loved family member of mine has been battling with cancer for a year. And I have today signed up to work with Click Sargent, which is cancer leukemia in children, to raise money for them. It's in a gaming based initiative. So I'll be streaming pretty much every day, I hope, from about 7 p.m. for an hour or maybe more, depending on the day, try and raise some money for them, basically for young people, and especially young people that are obviously into gaming. I do have a Tiltify page, and I was all set to do this. Are you okay for 2 seconds, Chase? I can let you go.
Yeah.
So just so that you guys know, I'll pop the link into chat. There it goes, and I will share this screen so that you can see what I'm looking to do. So yeah, so essentially, if you, that link will take you to here. Look, you know what, if you could put 50 pence in the pot, it would be amazing. I'm hoping to raise £1,000. All the money goes directly to Click. I promise you, there's no cream off. And as it says in my thing here, it's at the moment, I'm going to get emotional, I've got to be very careful. Someone who's very close to my heart, who's been battling with this now for over a year, and he's struggling. It's not going so well at the moment. So this is my way of giving some support back, and particularly amongst young people. This is an insidious disease. So anything you can do, join me. I'll be on every evening, just doing some general streaming, nothing special. It'll be lovely to have you. But look, you're wonderful people, and I know you're going to help out because that's what you guys do, and I love you for that. Chase, you know how much I love you. You're an absolute diamond of a friend, and I really appreciate you coming on today.
Love you too, brother. Love you too, brother.
On a down and a slightly emotional level, but it's going to be good. We've got one final thing tomorrow night. We have our Friday night rock stars at night, and you guys also have your initiative, the Stadia initiative, which is coming on a little after us, I believe.
Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we've got some stuff to talk about now. So, and then who knows what's going to happen with the Sony announcement tonight. Yep. If there's larger games that come out that were also negotiated on Stadia, and Stadia couldn't talk about it because Sony had the lid, we're going to find out more. So y'all may want to watch that event just for that. Even if you're not interested in the PlayStation, I think it's still worth your time.
That's 9 p.m. tonight, British time.
Yep.
Obviously earlier for yourselves. So tomorrow's a fantastic night, guys. I'm going to be doing some streaming for Click. Then we're going to run into Rockstars at Night. My guest tomorrow night, by the way, you're going to love this, is none other than Clive Illenden, who is going to be letting whatever hair he's got left down, which ain't a lot. So he hasn't got long for it to fall. And we're going to have a cracking time. Usual time. I think it's normally we go live at 10. I will make sure that we finish before the Stadia initiative so that we can hand over to our great friends. And they're always, if you can stay up or at least watch the VOD afterwards, they've always got a cracking show. So that's it. Thank you very much, guys. Love you lots. Have a great evening and see you soon. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.